Hey everybody, this is Luke with ResTech Studios, and I'm here to showcase the landscape master material that showed up on the marketplace here. So when you go ahead and download that and you start it up, you're going to have ResTech Studios. You have these four folders here. Now, the demo map that I have, I included three of them, but this one is going to be the scene 01. So when we look at the landscape material folder, you're going to have non-tessellated material and tessellated material. So we'll look at the tessellated material because that one's more in depth. So I have the master and the instance. So we're just going to take a look at the master real quick. So as you can see, everything is very neatly laid out, easy to read on where everything is going. And included on the layers, I have a total of 5 layers. So I got dirt 1, dirt 2, grass 1, grass 2, and rock. Now, each one of these is a material function. They're all set up pretty much the same, but the rock I have a moss overlay that I'll show you. So this is the actual function out itself. So I have distance blending on every single one of these textures. As you can see here, I have the diffuse, I have a metallic, specular, I have a pack texture here that I'm using, which is red is going to be roughness, green is going to be height, and blue is going to be ambient occlusion. And in case you forget, I have this little thing here that tells you exactly how I'm packing them. And then I have my normals. Now, with my normal and my diffuse, I have that going to the distance blending. So as you get further away from the camera, the texture kind of goes in a lower resolution, but it looks higher fidelity at a distance. So it just brings in more, more in depth when it comes to scenery. So when when looking at this, all of these are pretty much set up identical to that. It's just the texture is different. However, the rock is set up the same way, but I have this overlay here, this moss overlay. So I have it switch parameter. So when you click on yes, it'll basically overlay a moss texture based on the normal and height map. So you can switch this texture out here, this moss texture, for any texture that you would like, and it'll overlay. So whether it be moss or you want sand, or let's just say you want snow, you can switch this texture out, and then it'll overlay whatever you would like. So I'll show you that here in a second. So moving on, we have the tessellation control. So this allows you to control how the tessellation reacts, whether it be like further away from the camera or closer to the camera, and also the density of the tessellation, and as well as the height of the tessellation. Up here I have the foliage, the procedural foliage tool, as well as a foliage removal tool. So the procedural foliage is set up per a material function basis. So dirt 1, dirt 2, grass 1, and grass 2 all have connections to the procedural foliage. Now I'm not adding any meshes with this pack. However, I have everything set up for you that all you have to do is drag and drop a mesh into the landscape tool, and it'll automatically generate whatever mesh you have on the corresponding material function. And if there is something that you want to remove as far as a section of the landscape, I have the foliage removal tool where you're going to be able to remove that foliage, and I'll show you that in a second as well. So other than that, that's basically the entire material. Up here, I just have macro variation, so it breaks up the tiling of the texture, so it doesn't look so computerized. So moving on here, so this is a landscape I just created really quickly with this. Took me probably about 15 minutes, and so everything can be done here with this material instance. So let's load this up here. Bring this down. So when you open up the material instance, all of them are going to be set up exactly the same. You have a color tint, so I can actually change the color of any texture on the fly with this material instance. And then you have, your diffuse textures, your normals, metallic and specular, and your pack texture, as well as the parameters for how your distance blending works, like the distance from the camera, the metallic, roughness, specular, and then the tiling from close to tiling to far. And all of these are set up identical. So to show you this, we'll pick this grass here. As you can see, they're all PBR, all high quality grass. And let's just say we want to change this texture out. So, well, first of all, we can just actually change the color. So you can change the color of the grass to whatever you would like. Just with the color wheel here. Or we can actually just change out the color, period. So I added 12 PBR textures, included in this pack. So let's just say that we want to kind of do more like a desert theme, not so much grass. So right here I have, let's say desert. So click this, and we're going to add the normals. And now we're going to add that pack texture. And so we can also change the color too. It's a little bit more tingy-ish. Let's go one more wire color. So as you can see, I just instantly just changed this to a more of like a desert theme map with little to no effort really at all, because I have many different types of textures for all types of scenery. But the great thing is you can also change the color of it on the fly, as well as, again, it has all of the options to change the tiling if you wanted the texture to be a little bit larger in your face, or if you wanted to tile it downwards if you were using your own custom textures. And if you just wanted to switch it right back, you can just uncheck all of these, and it takes it right back to the way it was. So moving on to the rock texture. Now the rock texture is set up exactly the same way, but what we're going to do is we're going to look at the moss overlay that I have set up here. So it has a moss enable question mark. So when you click on that and check it, you instantly have moss that basically just kind of procedurally overlays right on top of it. So you can change the moss color just like with anything else to anything your heart desires, as well as the moss power, which, let's just say you want it completely covered in moss. You just go number 1 and it's a completely covered rock, or you want it something more scarce, let's just say like an 8 value, and it just generally procedurally generates the moss over top of it. And then you just uncheck that, and it instantly goes away. Now, again, you can use that with like snow or sand or whatever texture that you would like. You would just switch out to this moss texture right here with a different one. So let's just say here I have this check marked, and I want to choose this texture. Go there, and it just changes the moss overlay texture. So it's kind of completely up to you. Okay, so now we can go over the tessellation part. So right down here, I have different types of tessellation control. So we'll hop in a wireframe here, and as you can see, it's extremely tessellated. But the further I get out, I'll go to a flat part here. The tessellation just kind of follows the camera. Now I can change all these parameters here. So if I want it closer to the camera, not so far away, this obviously boosts performance, but you do see when you're walking, you'll see the tessellation start to pop in and out. So the value that I had at 1500 is a good value that you don't really notice it. You also have the tessellation multiplier here, which basically means that like it's just making it more dense the further it goes out, which you kind of want some sort of blending. So the way I have it here, it kind of blends, so it doesn't look like it's just instantly just popping up out of the ground. It's actually slowly rising up. So, but what we can do is we can also change the tessellation height. So as you can see here on these cliffs, if I go back into the lit mode, we'll go to something like here. And then what I want to do is just want to add some more height. So as you can see, it's definitely more rocky up here on the cliffs, and you can control that with the height. So whatever type of texture that you're working with here, and I can show you the wireframe mode. So triangles didn't really change. It's just the amount of height variation changed. So I'll bring that back down, something a little bit more reasonable. And I also have the variation. So it's the macro variation. So it's basically these little dark spots that you see. You can change the tiling of it or how dark it is. So again, from a distance, it breaks up the tiling of the texture. So Next, I'm going to go over the procedural foliage, which is a great function here. So under landscape material, I have a foliage, and I have these four, so grass, needles, pebbles, and rock, and that's corresponding to what I have here. So if you look, so I got rock, pebbles, needles, and grass, and when you follow the wires, it basically corresponds to the material function that it is. So this one right here, grass, we're gonna um, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add this grass layer here. So I added a grass pack. I just got this off the marketplace. This is not included within the pack. I just got this off the marketplace to kind of showcase how this works. So what you do is you want to find basically the mesh that you want. So let's just say I want this grass 01. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to put that in there, and then boom. It just automatically procedurally generates the grass on that grass function layer. So as you can see, it's not showing up here on the dirt. It's just showing up there on the grass part. So the procedural foliage removal tool, which is definitely a handy thing to have, I have under the painting option under landscape. You scroll down to your all your layers, and you can see this black one says foliage removal. So when you click on that, this is going to allow you to remove the foliage in places you don't want. So like right here, it's on this rock. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to click and drag, and then it's going to automatically remove that foliage where I don't want it. So this basically just gives you the control um, over where the foliage is actually generating. So, so it looks a lot better. It's not growing up on weird places on the rock. Um, and again, so let's add another one. So let's just say I want this grass 02 here on let's go on the pebbles. So that's going to be on this dirt layer here. So I'm just going to add the grass 02. And then as you can see, it just procedurally generated all this stuff on the dirt itself. But it didn't generate it in the actual grass. It's just on the material layer that I have it set up as. So you can really get some really amazing results extremely quickly with this landscape material. And like I said, also included is um, the 12 PBR textures. So you're going to have all the textures that you see here is going to be included in the pack, so you're going to be able to do some amazing looking landscapes. So I also have included a non-tessellated material. So let's just actually get rid of this foliage really quick. So let's just say you're kind of more impact performance wary. So the non-tessellated material, you can literally just add this to the landscape, and as you can see here under wireframe, there's no tessellation. So you're going to get, better performance out of this because you're not going to actually be having all those triangles to render. So yeah, it's on the marketplace. Look for it. If you have any questions, you can email me. Thanks. Bye.